So my irony meter was pegged last night. I haven't commented on the Kim Davis situation. This is the Kentucky court clerk, I guess it is, who refused to issue a marriage license to a gay couple and has since been arrested for nothing short of defying a Supreme Court order, I guess. Anyway, I haven't really commented on it because it's been done to death by everybody. But I had maybe a bit of a unique slant on it based on something I saw last night that I thought I would share with you. Obviously, the arguments that are being made in her favor are pretty weak. You know, they have to do with the religious exemption and conscientious objector status. But of course, these are all coming from people who share the Christian perspective, and they're not giving much thought to what that actually means in the broader context of a country with freedom of religion. But that's not what I want to talk about, because again, that's been done to death by everybody. Last night I was watching Megyn Kelly's show, as I often do. I watch Fox News partially for the entertainment, but also because of some of the guests they actually have on you generally don't see interviewed anywhere else. And she had on Senator Ted Cruz, who is also running for the nomination for the Republican Party, and giving a defense for Kim Davis. And I thought it was quite interesting. It obviously illuminates him as being ineligible in my mind for holding really any public office, but certainly the highest office in the land, arguably the world, namely the U.S. presidency, right? And I'm not too concerned that he's going to even win the Republican nomination, let alone the presidential election. But he stands in solidarity with Kim Davis. He went on record as saying that he firmly stands with her based on a religious exemption or a conscientious objector type of status. Again, we won't get too deep into the ramifications of what that means if you're going to grant people religious exemptions when it comes to all the different religions and the things that they believe in. And actually, I would add to that, why don't I get some sort of conscientious objector status either, as a person who doesn't have faith but has very, very deeply held convictions? Why don't I get a similar exemption? Anyway, his argument was that he stands with her and she should be granted this exemption, and that if people are going to say that she has to, that the law must be maintained in this instance, that they're not being very consistent unless they speak out against things like sanctuary cities. If they're not going to uphold the immigration law in a specific city, or he made reference to Obamacare, and I'm not sure what he was referencing there, but he kind of deemed it lawless, and I'm sure he's got his silly argument behind that too. But his basic premise was, you guys focus on the lawlessness of Obamacare and the lawlessness of sanctuary cities, and then we'll talk about Kim Davis. So he's calling for consistency in law. Well, silly man, that's not how consistency works. You don't get to say, I'm going to remain inconsistent until you become consistent. Then we'll talk about me being consistent. No, if you're going to demand other people be consistent, you got to start. You got to do it first. Anyway, there's a lot of logistical problems, obviously, with the arguments that are being put forth in favor of Kim Davis. That she should be, sort of able to not do that part of her job, that these people should drive 30 miles to another county courthouse or whatever it is where they have to get their marriage license, which is completely unreasonable to expect. And, when it comes to working somewhere, I mean, geez, how far would it fly if I said I want to be a truck driver, but I don't want to ever have to touch a brake pedal? Well, if you don't want to do that, you can't do that job. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. Now, I'm a voluntarist, so I don't actually have a lot of problem with people not wanting to bake a cake for a specific other person. I'm not sure why you'd want that person to bake you a cake under duress or that doesn't want to. I think you could find someone else. And in the private sector, I think people should be able to refuse doing whatever they want to do for another person, for whatever the hell reason they want to. That's the voluntarism that I believe in. But when you move it out of the voluntary sphere into government, you don't get those choices anymore, partially because I don't, right? I can't conscientiously object to paying my taxes and paying your wage. You don't get to deny me a service. I mean, when you remove voluntarism from the picture, then you remove it for yourself as well. And if you're going to work for a government institution, I'm sure she probably took an oath too. I don't know if she takes an oath like a president does to uphold the Constitution, but I'm sure she probably has to take some sort of an oath or have some sort of employment contract, she's probably in violation of. But the other thing that I wanted to mention about Ted Cruz, siding with her and saying that, you know, people should be able to have religious exemptions even if they work in government. This guy's trying to become the president, right? He wants to be the Republican nominee and he wants to be the president of the land. Can you imagine a president who believes that he should be able to take a religious exemption or stand on his religious principle alone when it comes to, I mean, geez, vetoing things, executive orders? He's essentially shown himself to be ineligible for the office, as far as I can tell, by siding with this idea of being able to have a religious exemption, to be able to stand on religious principles alone when it comes to fulfilling the duties of a public servant. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.